You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have leaf filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/day to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
That's leaffilter.com/day for your free gutter inspection today. See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. One discount per household.
Hello, my name is Kevin Tudor, and I'm one of the 3 hosts of Almost Major, a film podcast dissecting many major indie studios and the films they release. Every week, myself, Charlie Nash, and Bryden Doyle discuss overlooked, forgotten, or bona fide classic indie films via studio-specific miniseries. We've previously covered numerous films from Artisan Entertainment, Lionsgate Films, and New Line Cinema. Titles including The Blair Witch Project, American Psycho, Dogville, But I'm a Cheerleader, Saw, Requiem for a Dream, and Ringmaster. You know, the Jerry Springer film. Anyways, we have a fun time every week, and we hope you will join us. Subscribe to Almost Major wherever you get your podcasts. Now proudly a part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Are you a film fan who loves the ultimate home video experience? Look no further than The Disconnected. Your host, Ryan Verrill, is your go-to source for the latest and most accurate information on home video releases, exclusive interviews with industry insiders and filmmakers, and has established a thriving community where every film and physical media enthusiast feels welcome. From hidden gems to blockbuster hits, The Disconnected brings you insider knowledge and a welcoming space to share your love of cinema. Watch every Thursday night at 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 Pacific for the live announcements show and follow The Disconnected on social media to stay updated. Subscribe to The Disconnected on YouTube or on the podcast provider of your choice and dive into a world where every movie night is an adventure.
Welcome to the Shabby Detective, yet another Columbo podcast. I'm your host, Mike White. Joining me, of course, is Mr. Chris Dashew.
Am I, though?
You having some memory problems there?
I might be.
Such an interesting name, but I just can't seem to remember it.
Good Lord.
We are kicking off season 5 of Columbo with Forgotten Lady. Originally aired September 14th, 1975. This is a 93-minute episode. Directed by Harvey Hart, written by William Driscoll, starring Janet Leigh as Grace Wheeler, and she's married to Sam Jaffe, a very familiar face, as her husband, Henry Willis, and she is a former musical star whose career might be reignited by a series of films that are very close to the That's Entertainment series of movies from, I think that was MGM, but in this case, it's all Universal, baby. And we're talking about Walking My Baby Back Home, which they call Walking My Baby, I think. I don't know why they had to change the title of that, but that was with Donald O'Connor and Janet Leigh, but Donald O'Connor was not available for this, so they ended up having, I think it's John Payne as Ned Diamond, her partner, with the old Diamond and Wheeler films, which apparently were very popular. This episode feels like a lot of other episodes cobbled together, but we'll definitely get to that as we talk about this. Chris, I'm very curious. What did you think of Forgotten Lady?
Boy, you used the term cobbled there perfectly. This does feel like a melange, as it were, of other episodes of this show that we've seen before. Not like in a bad way per se, but definitely in a we can tell way. Look, I don't know if it hurts or helps us by watching the film chronologically. I don't know if it hurts my ability to enjoy the show or it helps it, or something in between. But I will say, watching the show chronologically, we get a little bit of Columbo every month. And because I'm being drip fed Columbo, I haven't not had Columbo around in the last 2 years. And so I feel like I remember enough of these episodes to be able to say, oh yeah, this is very similar to X, Y, or Z. Yes, this is very similar to things we've seen before. There's a interesting twist in here where we see the episode end up, but I thought it was fine. It's a little bit of a cop-out, right?
In what way?
The way the episode concludes, right?
It's definitely one of the most different endings that we've had, especially to this point, I think.
Because her like losing her memory and everything, like it's not that I didn't expect it, but that definitely adds a weird wrinkle into the episode that feels a little unrealistic, even for Columbo. Does that make sense?
I don't really see it as that unrealistic. I thought that was an interesting turn to make your antagonist much more sympathetic and to allow us to really step into Columbo's shoes. And the way that he deals with things at the end of it, I thought was a very nice way of ending it.
I wasn't expecting her to be like losing her mind.
They did a good job, I thought, with the way that she'll forget things and then that she cannot remember Columbo's name. And then you get some of the anger. Like we see people with Alzheimer's or dementia having a lot of anger issues, especially because they can't remember things, and then projecting out and saying, oh, this guy's the worst dancer and he's terrible. And it's, no, you can't remember the steps, but you can't admit that to yourself because you don't see yourself having a problem. And she really doesn't see herself ever having a problem. She's been blissful ignorance through this whole thing, to the point where I don't think she even remembers committing the crime by the end of the episode. The way that her old partner steps in and confesses, and she gets angry at him, not because he's trying to take the blame, but because I think she honestly thinks he killed her husband when she's the one that murdered the husband.
Yeah, and that's the part of the episode that I think is the most interesting for me, is the idea of the partner stepping in to take responsibility for something he didn't do. Would someone actually do that?
I like the whole thing of, this is going to be an easy story to break. And it might take a couple months. And then Columbo's, yep, it might. And I like that Columbo's basically in on it. That he's, I know what you're doing, and I can see that. And I think Columbo respects it, honestly.
At the end of the day, he's doing it because he loves her so much. And there's something deeply romantic about it, obviously. But at the same time, it's a strange episode of Columbo, is it not? Because to your point, the fact that you're led to believe that it's going to be just the usual, oh, she murdered her husband and she's terrible, and that's it. And it ends up not being that pretty quickly on. Like, it takes, I think, about 23 minutes for her to show up. It's an hour and 37 minutes. We get an hour and 10 of, and I think for the most part, he's used rather well. We don't get a lot of Peter Falk isms in this episode, which I did appreciate. He loves being himself, as they would say, and he loves highlighting his actor friends. And I'm glad there wasn't any of that in this episode, because this is a long episode on top of everything else. It's an hour and 40 minutes.
And really, they could cut it down very easily, not suggesting that they do, because I do like the side plot of him not going to the gun range and renewing his testing and stuff through the police department and having IA come in. And then towards the end, we talked recently about the rules of three. So you got here's the setup. Here's the IA guy coming in, internal affairs. So you better fucking do this, Columbo, or else you're going to get kicked off the force. And then him paying off a guy $5 whole to go take the test for him. I thought that was pretty nice.
Which is hilarious that he pays somebody $5 to go take. Yeah, I don't know if it'll be fine, but sure.
We don't really get the payoff for that, but I just assume that he's okay now and doesn't have to worry about taking the test for a few years.
But we've never seen Columbo use his gun anyways.
No, nor does he ever want to.
So why because he's a cop.
Right.
But, and I guess there are some Falkisms, like him eating ice cream with his dog.
Yeah, having the return of dog was interesting. I was glad for that. And they play it well, especially with him up in the tree and everything. I thought that was nice.
Yeah, those are nice moments, but they don't take up like too much time.
No, it's not like wandering around the hospital or some of these other things or waiting for the computer printout. Oh, yeah, those were painful. This, not so bad. But talking about this episode feeling familiar, the idea of the movie projector, that's one thing that they can use the movie projector as a timekeeping device. And that can be used as the way to prove that she missed, 15 minutes, that there's 15 minutes of missing time here. And we'll definitely get missing time as one of the things throughout so many Columbo episodes. But I thought this was very nice, the way that they used that, the way that she can splice a movie, fix a movie within just a few minutes of time, and that Columbo futzes with the film in order for it to break so that he can prove to himself and to her partner, like how quickly she can make this repair. I thought that was pretty good. I also, the idea of the television being another source of time, that so reminded me of the old lady who was watching TV when Martin Landau threw the appliance into the bath and killed his uncle. I was like waiting for there to be a disruption on the TV signal for them to be like, oh yeah, the TV went out at one point. But no, it's just Johnny Carson takes this long. It starts at 11:30. It ends at 1 o'clock. So we all know exactly what that period of time is. It was interesting to have Maurice Evans as the butler because he's barely in this, but Maurice Evans is a great actor and very well known. Obviously, Dr. Zaius, everybody knows, but even things like he was Maurice in Bewitched, and he also was a villain in Batman. He'd been like a legit guy. To just show up as the butler, it feels like a real thankless role for him.
Very strange. I didn't understand. I understood in as much as like we needed somebody to play the role, but why him of all people?
Yeah.
Janet Leigh is great though.
Oh, she's amazing.
But what a surprise, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Janet Leigh, first episode of the 5th season of Columbo, and she's great. I'd be more surprised if she wasn't.
Exactly. I kept being surprised how young Maurice Evans' wife is, because he's married to the maid, right?
Right.
Okay, yeah, because I kept looking at her going, she's not very old whatsoever. Like, she looks like his daughter's age if I were to try to figure them out if I saw them walking down the street.
Yeah, I don't get it, because he's like, this is my wife. And I was like, wait, what? Wait a second, what? I'm very confused here.
Had she been the age of the old lady maid or whatever her role was, I think she was maid in that Martin Landau episode. And she was watching that television program with Mark Singer on it.
Yeah. How did you feel about John Payne as her partner?
I thought he was good. I really wish that they had been able to have somebody more well-known like a Donald O'Connor or somebody that we see in the film, because I like that they use the film as a constant reference point. And it's so cool that it's Janet Leigh in the film as well as Janet Leigh in the Columbo episode. So we're able to go back and forth between those. And I thought, that would have been nice had it been her partner from the movie as the partner in real life. I like him, again, as a thankless role because he's just there to try to help her and try to understand her. Same thing with Jaffe. That's the reason why she kills Jaffe, is because he won't support her whole comeback thing, because otherwise there's no real reason to kill him.
No, there's not. I just saw John Payne in Miracle on 34th Street, which is
nice.
I'm trying to remember why he looks so familiar. I think to your point, I just wish he was given more to do.
Same.
I wish he was given more to do with her, because they talk about he admits to killing her husband because of how he feels about her. There's a reason why he does what he does. And it befuddles me that the movie isn't more interested in talking about that. Like, I guess the episode is more interested in other things than it is telling us the story about why this guy would admit to killing her husband if he in fact didn't do it.
Oh yeah.
Like,
We get this whole thing of Jaffe saying, when we married, I knew you didn't love me. Basically, I know you married me for my money, pretty much, but we are pretty good partners and we get along and all this. I would have loved to have had more about how Diamond and Wheeler were a couple in real life and what happened to them. Yeah, I totally agree with you. They should have used him a little bit more and had more of that story to it. And again, it would have been all told through dialogue, but even to have more of him trying to protect her or maybe being angry at her, being more confused by her confusion, the whole thing of, this is one of the best dancers that's out there. How can you say he doesn't know his steps? And then maybe it finally starting to dawn on him a little bit more that she's going through some mental problems. We get that, but just not enough of it.
No, they don't make a big enough deal about it. I understand what they're trying to do. Like, they're trying to not let the twist out, but at the same time, like, I think they wait too long, in my opinion. I think they should have let us know that early on, because again, like with Columbo, we expect that somebody's going to get arrested by the end of the episode, and that doesn't happen. It does, but it also is a complete 180 from what we're used to. And I wish that the episode had done more leading up to that, as opposed to just resting on its laurels. That's what it does, which, I mean, again, it's fine. It is a complete 180 in the typical formula of Columbo, but I felt like there was money left on the table with this episode that this show tends to not do.
Watching how spry Janet Leigh is pretty great. To see her
jumping out the window. And I know that they did a Texas switch with the drop off of the branch. And apparently the person that was her stunt person actually broke their ankle doing that drop, which I'm shocked, because I'm like, how many pads did they have down underneath that tree? They should have had a ton. Like, what the hell, man? Yeah, I read that as well. And I was like, well, I'm glad Janet Leigh didn't do it, I guess.
But yeah, she looks fantastic, all in the bodysuit and everything. And yeah, she's at the beginning of this episode, she's firing on all cylinders. So to see her slowly not be able to handle the mental strain, it's really sad for me.
And that's the thing. Obviously, this is an episode that, in a lot of ways, it's speaking to a problem that is existing now with a lot of people our age or older getting old, and this becoming like a thing that they're either dealing with themselves or they're dealing with family members. And yeah, Alzheimer's and dementia is pretty nasty. It's pretty awful in terms of the things that one could be put through. And I honestly wish that they had showed more of that. Show the actual toll that this is taking. Because, again, they use it as a twist to get themselves out of a corner that they've painted themselves into. But at the same time, I don't know, if you're going to humanize the villain, why not just go full hog and just really humanize her? I don't understand why you wouldn't.
It's funny because we've seen a starlet, like an entitled starlet, once before.
Yeah, it was the one where she killed her husband and put him under the fountain, right?
Yeah, so we've had that, and I think I talked in that episode about how Falk didn't like women killers. He was just like, no, it's not nearly as fun. This makes it twice not as fun, because you can't root for him to catch her, because as you get to see her losing her mind, you're just like, that would be awful if he takes her away. Obviously, he never takes her away in handcuffs, never takes anybody away in handcuffs. But if he were to do that gotcha moment at the end of this episode, it would be awful. She would just be so confused at that, and you would feel so terrible about her that you can't root for him to catch her in this episode. And like all those little gotcha moments, he doesn't tend to do those to her. He tends to do those to Maurice Evans or to her partner. And I think really the partner is the one that Columbo has to convince, rather than Columbo saying, listen, Janet Leigh, I know that you did this, and have those little like needles all the time. It's really like him trying to convince, I guess it's Diamond, that Wheeler is not fully there anymore.
Yeah, it's a very different and interesting premise than what we're used to with this show. But I liked it well enough, I think. it did, like you've already alluded to, feel a little bit like treading old ground, which, neither here nor there, really. Again, with the show like this, they're going to run out at some point of directions to go. I don't think they've run out of directions yet, but this seems like a very similar path to tread, given the treading you've done before. Like you already mentioned with the episode with the woman burying her husband under the fountain. Like, that's very similar to this.
Mm-hmm. And I think have we had 2 projection things? Because we had Chuck McCann for Robert Culp. And then I'm trying to remember, we definitely had projection when it came to the Cassavetes one with the movie versus the footage, the news footage playing versus the playback of the concert kind of thing. But it feels like there was another movie projector type of thing. And for sure in this one, it's right there. But yeah, and then the servants and everything. And again, she's not mean to the servants. She's not a mean person. She just wants her career back. And you can understand that, especially because we see her at the premiere of That's Entertainment thing. And it's like, oh, if there's a time for a comeback, this is it. She just wants that comeback. But I know that Jaffe recognizes he's got the medical report. He's got 2 medical reports, right? He's got one about him having a bad prostate, and he doesn't care about that because he knows it's a simple procedure. And then he's got the other one about, quote unquote, Rosie, his code name for her, because he wants to protect her at all costs. Every man in this episode wants to protect her, even Columbo.
Right. Which, again, to your point about Peter Falk not liking female killers, you must really have hated this episode then, because it's a female killer-centric episode.
Oh, yeah. Poor Columbo coming in just completely asleep. He's forgotten everything.
I don't even have my badge.
Doesn't have his badge, doesn't have his pencil. We all know how he can't keep track of that pencil, but yeah, he's just woken up in the middle of the night. And yeah, to your point, we get a little bit of him supposed to have brought his wife to that dinner that they end up having, but you would think he would be gushing over Janet Leigh. Just
what kind of is, right?
Is, but not nearly as much as you would think. Like, he gushed over that other starlet quite a bit more. Maybe
That's
he's just
fair.
not into musicals.
Probably that. I just don't like musicals. All right, Columbo, whatever.
Get to finally find out his movie tastes.
Yeah. I just don't like movies, frankly.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
Yeah, Columbo just doesn't like movies. Yeah, I believe that.
And even when it comes to the book that gives him, and I love when it goes to the bookstore and finds out when the book was bought. Gosh, no one would be able to do that with me, because a lot of times I will buy a book and it will take me like 4 or 5, 20, 30 years to finally read it. But Jaffe with his, I'm going to read 25 pages a night and then dog ear the page. That so reminded me of the British episode where the guy had that book, but then he dog-eared the page. And it's, like a person who reads these kind of books doesn't dog-ear a page. Whereas with this one, it's the flip, and he's dog-earing these pages every 25 pages. But this night, he didn't read the 25 pages, and that it's the comic novel, and the comic novel that the guy's reading is going to cause him to commit suicide or suddenly gets depressed. There's no reason for him to have committed suicide, basically.
No, I love how she kills her husband, and then it's, but why did he kill himself? It's just,
Oh, he was so depressed about his prostate. No, he wasn't.
Yeah, I don't think so.
No, he knows it's a simple procedure. It's okay.
And also, you don't take sleeping pills if you're going to kill yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like that fell apart way too quickly, right?
It did.
Like,
yeah.
It's a weird episode structurally, because I think, to your point, it is more about Columbo just trying to convince somebody of something, as opposed to catching the killer, as it were. Yeah, a friend of mine and I watched it, and she was like, "Is that how all the episodes of this show go?" And I was like, "No, not really."
Mm-hmm.
Frankly, this is a anomaly. This is one of 3 episodes that are like this, where he doesn't catch the killer in the end, quote unquote.
And of course, there's always that begrudging respect for your Donald Pleasance or Johnny Cash kind of things, but he's got the respect, but it's not begrudging.
This is a very different situation. And again, I understand why Columbo does what he does, but I also think they could have milked it more to have it actually be a hard decision for him to make.
Right.
Because we understand why he does what he does, but there should have been a moment of him actually like figuring out what decision he wants to make is the best way of putting it.
Yeah, and I like that decision is really taken away from him by the partner. Normally, I would say he should probably go down to Bert's and get a bowl of chili and talk to Bert about it and make up his mind that way, but we haven't had Bert for quite a few seasons now.
Nope, no bowls of chili, no Bert. So just a Columbo making decisions on the fly and us just having to be part and parcel to it as it happens.
Not a lot to talk about with this one.
No, not really. This was not a bad episode of the show. It just left me wanting a lot because it decided to take some interesting avenues that I wasn't expecting it to take. And in it taking those avenues, I wanted it to go further down them and it didn't. And so it's just, don't tease me like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the whole thing too of it being a locked room and there's that whole Sherlock Holmes
right. How Holmesian of them. Like,
yeah, locked door mysteries.
Nothing. They solved that in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah. As soon as you see Columbo hanging from that tree, you're like, okay, I guess it's not that hard.
Guess they figured it out. Yeah, I guess Columbo can hang from a tree, so it's not that big of a fucking deal.
Mm-hmm. And does he talk about the footprints down below?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, because I couldn't remember him doing that because, yeah, if you drop from that distance, you're going to leave a really big divot in the ground.
Yeah, this is not a bad way to start the 5th season, but we've seen better opening episodes for seasons in the past. That's for sure.
Oh, by the end of this season, we're going to be begging for an episode like this. At least
dear God.
The final episode of this season. Good Lord. But we're going to have some good things between now and then. We're going to have Hector Elizondo playing an Arabic person. We're going to have the return of Patrick McGowan and Leslie Nielsen.
Playing an Arabic person.
We're going to have Ricardo Montalban and a question of machismo. And we're going to have Jack Cassidy back, the wonderful Jack Cassidy. Really, I think you're going to enjoy that one quite a bit. And then we end it with Last Salute to the Commodore, which I think might be universally hated as an episode. So should be interesting.
Good.
Yes. We have 270 minutes in here, and the rest of them are plus that. Though one of them is 85 minutes, which is a weird time. So guess they ran out of ideas in that one.
Huh.
Yeah. So yeah. Until we come back next month to talk about A Case of Immunity, I want to thank John Walker for doing our opening theme and Colin Gallagher for doing our closing theme. And I want to thank you, Chris, for coming along with me on this journey of Columbo. What are you up to these days, sir?
It's working on audio diversions over at weirdingwaymedia.com. That's where everything that I work on can be found. And yeah, if you want to engage with us either financially or non-financially, weirdingwaymedia.com is the best way to go about doing it. What about you, Mike?
Pretty much the same thing. Over at weirdingwaymedia.com, all the things that I do are over there, except for the one thing that you, me, and Richard Haddam do, which is Rankin' on Bond, which is available through our Patreon, where you can also get episodes of this show dropped a little bit early sometimes. So patreon.com/projection booth and patreon.com/culturecast. Come on over, and if you're a member at the $10 and above level, you get access to Rankin' on Bond, where once a month we talk about James Bond films. Thanks again for listening, and we will catch you next month.
Hello, filthy movie lovers. My name is Gentry Austin.
And I'm Casey Scott.
And we're the hosts of the Sin Syndicate, film podcast for something weirdos, anti-criterion bros, and Joseph Sarno aficionados. Join us semi-weekly as we peer into the adults-only theaters and sticky-floored cinemas of the golden age of sexploitation, when the morals were loose, the laws were murky, and the intercourse was all simulated. Find us now on the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Have you ever wanted to dive deeper into the horror movies you love? Beyond the Blood is a horror podcast for fans who want more than just surface level screams. We do deep dives into the movies that shaped us, digging into director commentaries, behind the scenes stories, deleted scenes, and the special features that most people skip. Each episode is a love letter to the genre. We break down how these films were made, the creative risks that paid off or didn't, and the lasting impact they've had on the genre as a whole. From 70s slashers to modern nightmares, we celebrate the craft, chaos, and characters that keep us coming back. If you're the kind of fan who rewatches movies with the commentary on, or you simply grew up in the video store horror aisle, the Beyond the Blood podcast was made for you. New episodes every single week. Subscribe, and let's dig deep. Welcome to the Beyond the Blood podcast.
Hello, this is Chris Haskell from They Live by Film. For those that don't know us, Adam, Zach, and I, we built a podcast over the last 2 years that's a combination of film discussion from 3 very different perspectives, as well as industry interviews with the leaders in boutique Blu-ray and 4K community. We started with Deaf Crocodile, but over time we've been lucky enough to speak with Arrow Video, Severin, Mondo Macabro, Vinegar Syndrome, Radiance, Indicator, most of the OCN partner labels. It's been a blast. You can find us wherever you podcast, and also actually recently as part of Someone's Favorite Production podcast network. We hope to see you online.